This is a More Than Just Podcast production.
Welcome to Podcast Season 8, Episode 16. My name is Tim Mitra. I am in Toronto, Ontario, and I'm joined by Jonathan Kuline, who is in Lawrenceville, Bristol, New Brunswick.
Hello there, kids.
We're also joined by Jaime Limpus Jr. in Seattle, Washington.
How's it going?
It's going well. Happy New Year, Jaime.
Happy New Year, 2026.
Yeah, it's just one holiday we all celebrate at the same time. Woo. Yeah,
Wait, there's no American New Year's versus Canadian New Year's?
I thought Canadian New Year's was like in December.
Yeah. In fairness, the three of us all celebrated New Year's at a different time, so there's that.
Actually, I think in 2026 they're going to celebrate the New Year in November, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Around the first Tuesday of November?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I'm not sure. Alrighty, well, let's pick it up where we left off. We were discussing here, we haven't recorded since November, so welcome back, everybody. Circumstances, which we won't go into, got in the way. And, yeah, including holidays and stuff. So let's do the fact check from the last episode, or 2 episodes ago, I don't know, many episodes ago. Patrick Fabian plays Howard Hamlin on Better Call Saul, and is the uncredited voice of the answering machine on Pluribus. And there you go. Yeah, and then we were talking about Spartacus, 1960, and I don't know if did I tell the story about James Bond? I think I did, right?
Yep.
But Spartacus famously, or somewhat famously, was directed by Stanley Kubrick and Anthony Mann. Kubrick was brought in after Kirk Douglas had a falling out with director Anthony Mann. So that's how important Kirk Douglas was as an actor back in the day. So, yeah, he was, in fact, I do remember there's a what do you call it, director trademark, where, and he's done it in a number of movies, where these long marches where the camera is walking in front of, or, facing backward, walking through this character. And there's a scene in Spartacus where I think he first sort of did that idea. But anyway, if not, it will be fact check for next time. So anyway, so I got first thing here in the headlines, which we're moving over to now. And this was the preview, the exclusive clip back in the day. It's no longer exclusive anymore. I'm sure people have seen it 1,000 times. The Starfleet Academy clip. I guess it was from one of the Comic-Cons, CCXP 2025, whatever that is. Paramount Plus. Yeah. Have you not seen this?
I've seen the clip. I'm just trying to remember what event it was from.
Yeah, so it was, so anyways, and January 15th, so we're 14 sleeps till the next Star Trek thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, and I guess you guys have seen this trailer?
Yep. Yeah, this clip shows us, what the hero ship looks like, more or less. Shows us the villain ship, shows us Paul Giamatti as the villain. Shows us the Doctor. EMH. Yes. So we see we see pew pew pews. It kind of throws you in the middle of stuff. So it looks exciting. Got people somewhere in the comments, I don't know if it's still here, say like, hey, even in the 30th or 32nd century, they still have the exploding consoles with rocks. Just so they talked about on lower decks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty hyped for it anyways. I think we're all looking forward to something new in the Star Trek world, but I don't know. I feel like a lot of these trailers are pretty deliberately vague, so it'll be interesting to see what the reality is when we get to the first episode. I mean, they're doing very sort of, Star Trek and Starfleet are a higher calling kind of, very important sounding trailer over dubs and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to see what the mood of the show is once it actually gets going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we just got through Stranger Things Academy as well, right? So, yes. All right. Cool. Well, we pick up a story from Jaime from the last failed attempt to record. What do you got there, Jaime?
Yeah, so apparently Amazon Prime Video was trying to use AI-generated dubbing in English of Japanese animation, anime. And there's a clip here in the link. We have that link in the show notes for you transporting it home, where it doesn't have any sense of emotion. So there's some show called Banana Fish, where this little kid gets shot in a gang fight or something. And it's like, oh no, Timmy, no. It's just like has none of the emotion that you would need in there. It kind of sounds more like whining and complaining than it is shock at somebody getting killed. So, I see why they would want to do this. I am a person that prefers original language with subtitles. It's very rare for me to like a dub, but I acknowledge that I am not the typical person. Most people tend to prefer English dubs or whatever their natural language is. So I see why they tried to do it, but the AI is just not there yet, folks.
There was a bit of a follow-up. I noticed that in December, I saw a great piece where YouTube has started pulling some of the people who are making the fake AI movie trailers.
Right, yeah.
Trying to pull them down a little bit because they had gotten quite out of control. The number of people who were posting stuff that was like, check out the new Avengers trailer. And I think we've all been fooled by them from time to time where you're just like, damn, that looks really good. And you're like, oh, no, that's clearly not a thing.
Yeah.
I was excited to see that, some of these places, obviously it's like playing whack-a-mole at this point, but it's nice to see that, some of that content, I mean, right now, I think one of the dictionaries for the year-end word of the year was slop, and there's so much slop out there. I'm getting so sick of going on, if I don't, if you're following something, what you're getting more or less. If you are being served something through an algorithm, there's just so much garbage and nonsense and fake, and it's really bad. So any steps that any of them are willing to take to be accountable is a nice step in the right direction. If only we could get Zuckerberg and the rest of the social media owners to get behind that too, because it's not good.
No, well, they've never really cared about that stuff anyway. But it's funny. Like I was just a few hours ago, I was watching something and it was talking about the Beatles and something about the Beatles and how Paul McCartney was the bassist. Right. So as soon as I hear a word like that, I'm like, I'm out. I just hit the back button on the browser or whatever you're using, and it's getting so annoying. Like you can't really tell anything is real anymore, right? So.
There's one that kind of kills me is you can choose on a number of news sites, including very reputable news sites, you can choose to have them read by an AI voice so that, and I do that from time to time. If I'm get up first thing in the morning, I want to jump in the shower, I might put on whatever the top stories from the New York Times are, or something like that.
Right.
Just so that I can listen to them while I get cleaned up. But the automated AI voice that they use for the New York Times always gets the name Epstein wrong and calls him Epstein or Epstein.
Epstein, yeah.
And I'm like, of all the things.
Yeah, you shouldn't have chosen the Gene Wilder, Frankenstein voice.
Yeah. Frankenstein, yeah. That was a gag on the last season of Stranger Things, which always makes me laugh. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's my turn, and I have some sad news to report. A couple of losses. We have one person dying of old age and one very tragic death. So we'll start with Rob Reiner and his wife. We obviously haven't covered that. It's been a few weeks now. There hasn't really been much more news coming out, but by all accounts, the beloved actor-director Rob Reiner, responsible for movies like Princess Bride, American President, this is Spinal Tap, just countless terrific movies in his career.
Miss Sally,
absolutely.
Or the Stand By Me.
Yep, was found murdered in his home along with his wife. His son has been charged in this case. Obviously, it's been a few weeks now, so we've had a chance to process a little, and yet it still seems so shocking and senseless and horrifying. This was somebody who, he has just been a touchstone, especially when you consider who his father was, has been a touchstone of entertainment for 60 years. It's just an astonishing legacy that he leaves behind, but it doesn't diminish just the absolute shock and tragedy of what happened. Obviously, deep sadness to lose somebody who was such such a creative force. I mean, if you look at his run of movies from about 82 to the mid 90s, it is unreal how many great movies this person.
Yeah, there's no duds.
Yeah, and like some of the most beloved ones, and then you chalk in all of the acting performances. Obviously he started out on All in the Family, one of the most beloved sitcoms of the 20th century, where he was a seminal part playing the sort of the hippie counterculturalist against Archie Bunker's establishment kind of older person who doesn't like the change. And then you go right up till now. I mean, he was on the last season of The Bear. Like, it's just I can't even process this yet. It's still so absolutely devastating to see the outpouring that came after his passing. So many people were so thoughtful about just what he meant, and the child actors that he worked with on some of the movies that he did, just everybody talking about how he just brought out the best in them as performers and creators and all that. I mean, what a
Jerry
humongous
O'Connell for sure. Like,
what a humongous legacy that he left. But again, just absolutely flabbergasting. I know you both must have strong feelings for his work and his legacy.
My high school nickname was Meathead.
I don't know that I brag about that one, buddy.
Well, I think the guy who named me Meathead gave me the name before All in the Family. But we watched All in the Family. It was like appointment television back then, but it was like everybody watched All in the Family all the way through the entire run, even up to Archie's Place and stuff like that, right? Yeah, and then and of course this is Spinal Tap is like, I don't think there's a band out there that can make a rock documentary without feeling like idiots because of Spinal Tap, right? Like, and he invented mockumentaries, right?
Yep.
Like rock. What do you call it?
Mockumentaries.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and with Christopher Guest, who's carried on that sort of tradition, right? So, in fact, one of my things on my watch list is I did pay in honor of Rob Reiner to get the Spinal Tap 2.
Oh yeah,
which was on sale last week. So, yeah, his daughter put out a thing saying, if you do nothing else, just download this movie, right? It's his last performance too, right?
Yep, last performance, last movie he made. Yeah,
yeah. I think I looked at his list. I think North is probably the only one. But even that was a good movie. But that was probably the only movie that I think was a challenging one, right? So
yeah. Jaime, you're a little younger than us. What's your sort of relationship to the Rob Reiner legacy?
Stand By Me and The Princess Bride. Sort of being the right age for both of those. Being similar to the characters. And here I'm talking obviously the young kids in Stand By Me, but then also the framing story is like Columbo with Kevin from The Wonder Years, Fred Savage.
Yeah.
Right. That was kind of close in age, like, and the same kind of thing of like, oh, Princess Bride, like that's like a girl's thing. It's like, oh no, it's like one of the best thing. It's good for all types of boys and girls. And then a little bit later, that is probably Misery, like just really sits in there with Kathy Bates. It's just like calmly, torturing this poor man. So it's those are the ones that stuck out to me from the filmography.
Yeah, and for sure. I mean, you mentioned that one. I'm a Misery. Talk about people that he got the best out of. Kathy Bates went from a pretty obscure actress to A-list, won an Academy Award, had a whole second act of her life, later on because of being cast in that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, that one, like I say, it's just so sad and so senseless, and it's so tragic. It's going to take a long time to get over the shock of just hearing that news. I was actually, that day I just saw the news start sort of trickling out. It was a rumor, and then it just started getting worse and worse and worse. And it's just an absolutely devastating loss. And it's a weird one because, I mean, he was 78 years old. Obviously, his wife was murdered as well. We don't want to diminish that, but it's weird because you can talk about him as sort of having this complete legacy because he was an older man. And yet I still feel like we all thought, especially, I mean, his dad lived to 100. Like, I feel like we all thought he was going to be doing more for years and years to come. It's weird to think of somebody at 78 that was like stolen in their prime, but it just still felt like that,
Yeah, I'm sure there was a lot more good work coming out of him for sure.
The other person we lost in December was Gil Gerard, who was the star of Buck Rogers in the 21st Century way back in the 70s and early 80s. It's not one of those sci-fis that's held that stand the test of time as well. It is a little, it's pretty of its time. And yet, for a certain subsect, and myself included, I watched that show all the time. Buck was super cool. It was pretty contemporary science fiction for its time, and it was really, it kind of had an important place when a lot of the good sci-fi was happening on the big screen and not so much happening on the small screen. They kind of kept the torch lit. And and there was some pretty interesting episodes of that show. It was at times pretty cheesy because it was very inspired by the 70s. There was a lot of disco themed outfits and stuff like that, but
it did have Linda Gray, though, I gotta say.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Oh my God, which one of us did not have a crush on her? But Gil was so cool. Like, Buck Rogers was cool. He was always so just composed and cool, and he was handsome, and just he was a great leading man, and he was by all accounts, people who encountered him at Comic-Cons and stuff said very positive things. Apparently, really enjoyed his legacy in working on that stuff. And yeah, again, another sort of sad loss. He was 82, died in December, and will definitely be one we miss. Okay, here we get to some good stuff. So
here I gotta ask you before we get into this particular one. This you're talking about the Warner Brothers thing.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, since you posted this, hasn't it flip-flopped a few times?
It's flip-flopped a few times. So I'm going to jump ahead on this one a little bit. Maybe we'll update this one in the show notes because the stories have changed so much. But so it was a very tumultuous month in the saga of what is going to become of Warner Brothers. It is obviously up for sale. There was an agreement reached in December with Netflix, that Netflix was going to buy the Warner Brothers assets. They weren't sure which portions they were going to buy. There was some negotiations, all that. But both Netflix and Warner Brothers agreed on the deal. They both put very large penalties on the line just to try and guarantee the deal. I believe it was somewhere in the area of $6 billion if the deal fell through that had to be paid out. But not taking no for an answer are the people over at Paramount Skydance, who Larry Ellison has apparently come forward and has upped the ante and is trying very hard on the hostile takeover front to try and make a bid for Warner Brothers. And now Warner Brothers has come back out and said, no, we don't think our stockholders should accept this deal. They should reject it. They should, do something that seems counterintuitive, but go with the other deal. They think it's actually better in the long term for investors. And anyway, it's really become quite the circus. And of course, there's a political part of it because the different parties obviously represent different political perspectives. So it has really become quite the soap opera. I know the three of us love talking about these streaming services and the chaos of them, but this has become a mess. What do you guys make of all this?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say what's going to happen because I think there's a lot of political influence too, as well as beyond Larry Ellison, right? So
yeah,
it's hard to say where that one's going to land.
Yeah, and it has other ramifications that are interesting. So for a very long time, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver has been able to just do whatever the heck they want. I think that would continue under Netflix. I have my doubts as to whether that would continue under Paramount, given their legal history over the past year or so.
Well, I mean, these are the same people. When they so it was Larry Ellison's son David is now the CEO of Paramount Skydance, and they are the ones who now also own CBS. They also own Star Trek and all its assets. For those scoring how this is going to play out, so this is a consideration to have in mind. They are pretty active on the political front, and one of the first things they did when they took over CBS is announce that they are firing Stephen Colbert at the end of his contract in the spring. So, right, these people, you can't say that they're not, that they apparently put this out as hey, this is actually a financial decision. It's too expensive to run a late night show. And yet they are offering tens of billions of dollars, I believe close to $90 billion for the assets of Warner Brothers. So it's not like they're broke. There's also another bit of political intrigue in all this, in that apparently the deal that was put forward by Paramount also included funding from some of the Middle Eastern wealth funds of places like UAE and Saudi Arabia. There is obviously, they're looking for ways to get involved in financing certain causes in the United States. So that's kind of a bit of a mess as well. So yeah, it's a real mess is what it is. I'm really curious to see how this all finishes out. But I'm rooting, as you may have alluded to, Tim, I'm rooting for Netflix just because I really would like it if they didn't mess with something like HBO or CNN. That sounds not so good for freedom of speech.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Trailer time. We have a bunch of trailers to talk about. The most significant one, I suppose, is probably that there have been a series of trailers attached to Avatar, whatever it's called, boiling the blue people or whatever.
Fire and Ash. We're
Fire
in
and
the
Ash,
fire part of the other Avatars sequence. So, just for those of you checking off the boxes.
So apparently they are attaching 4 different trailers to the 4 different weeks, that the first 4 weeks that this has been released in theaters.
Avatar or Avengers?
So Avatar is where they are showing the Avengers trailers initially, and then they're coming to online.
Okay,
so they've shown a couple of them already. We've got a Captain America one, we got a Thor one, apparently there's an X-Men one, and I can't remember if we've seen the 4th one. We know what that is, but yeah, so we've seen a few of them so far. And they're not inconsequential. Very interesting to note that the Captain America one, we see, spoilers. If you don't want to know anything about Avengers Doomsday, skip ahead 30 seconds. But we see that Captain America and Linda Carter have a kid, which is pretty significant. And when we see the Thor one, we see Thor looking much more like he did in Avengers Endgame, and a lot less than he did in Love and Thunder. So interesting that they seem to be going back to what worked with this group. And yeah, it'll be really interesting to see the results of all of these, but we're still talking about a movie that's coming out almost a year from now, so it's a long way down the road, so I'm sure we'll get a lot more details on this. Did either of you feel particularly interested or impacted by these trailers so far?
I was a little confused by it, because when I first saw that there was trailer for Chris Evans coming back, I went and I found a trailer, and all it was the lineup of chairs.
Oh, yeah, that was an older one, yeah.
I know, but it had Chris Evans on one of the chairs.
Yeah. We knew he was coming back, but yeah.
But what role, yeah?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so that's the only one I was able to find. And then I noticed that Jaime put one later on in the show notes, I think, right? The Thor one, because I saw that one today before I was getting ready for this show, right? Yeah, no, I mean, it's, I guess, okay, but it's like December. That's a long time away, right?
Yeah.
How many? Never too early to get hyped and get your pre-orders for the popcorn buckets. And, and
would you like to make some predictions?
Predictions.
What's in the bucket? What's in the bucket?
Which one? As you consider your Galactus bucket from Fantastic Four?
Yeah.
I don't know how. Are they going to have like 20 different buckets, or are they gonna have a bucket with like a huge battle on it, and so it's like a bunch of figures?
It's got to be a Doctor Doom bucket, right? It's Avengers Doomsday. It's got to be
fair.
Got to be some kind of Doctor Doom themed something. Yeah. I mean, they look fine, but they really are kind of teaser trailers, and there's not a lot of there. So I mean, they didn't do a lot for me. I wasn't like, oh my god, I'm so excited. Like I was in the bag for this. What the hell? Who cares?
Yeah.
Next trailer was Supergirl. This was our first sort of look at something more substantive from the next movie in the rebooted DC cinematic universe, following on the heels of Superman, which came out in 2025. And it looks fun, like, in the same way that we talked about, some of the stuff from the Superman movie, a little more playful, a little more just maybe, a little tongue-in-cheek, a little glib, a little sort of younger, hipper, certainly a lot less stoic than the previous incarnation of these characters. And yeah, it looks like it could be a good time at the movies.
With the crazy dog and stuff.
Yeah.
Lobo, I think.
Yep, a very slight glimpse of Lobo, which apparently is Jason Momoa has a new role and will be playing Lobo, so that's pretty cool.
And a different philosophy. So like the thing like they put in the trailer, I think, is the little friend asking like, hey, other people like you? Well, I have my cousin and he sees the good in everyone, but I see the truth. So they're setting up a philosophical difference between Superman and Supergirl.
Yeah.
So is Lobo the guy with the spiky face?
No, he's a guy. He's got like a white face. He's got these like red eyes and sort of dark patches around his eyes. You only see him for maybe a second in the trailer, but it's enough that the people who are familiar with the comic character got psyched.
Yeah, Tim, you got to look for like there's a guy in a dark hallway with like a cigar, like you can see the lit end of the cigar, and he looks like he's a member of Kiss, just design wise. That's Lobo.
Pretty much. Yep. This one was interesting. So there's a trailer out for Disclosure Day, and Disclosure Day is the new Steven Spielberg movie that's coming out this year, and it's written and directed by Steven Spielberg, starring Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, Colin Firth, Coleman Domingo. Didn't know much about this one, but I must say, after seeing the trailer, I mean, again, Spielberg has just, a stamp of quality to him. But yeah, I thought it looked like a really interesting trailer, and it made me much more curious. Were either of you familiar with this very much, or what did you think of this one?
I had seen the name of the show, and I knew it seemed to be something to watch for, but I hadn't seen anything about it until I saw this trailer, right? So it seems sort of like another, there's other people out there, or other life forms out there, and I like the sort of the way they communicate by clicking their teeth and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see this one. This is a show or a movie? I can't.
It's a movie. Yeah, no, it's a cinematic movie. It's coming out in IMAX in June.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. And between this and Pluribus, it does make me wonder if there's, this is not a pun, if there's something in the air in society. Like I'm sure I'm going to screw this up, but I have seen sort of literary critical analysis of like, when do vampire movies become popular in societies, and when do zombie movies become popular, and what that tells you about the sort of where people are at. I feel like somebody somewhere should be writing a thesis at a minimum, or a dissertation around what is it about the current time that makes us interested in aliens and take over right now, and particularly the way that Pluribus. Well, I mean, it could be that. I feel like people say like AI is like the sort of stand-in. This is the aliens become the stand-in for AI, is this other thing taking over.
We need
our
mom
lives.
and dad to come and yell at the kids. Yeah, exactly.
But there's definitely, I think you're really onto something, Jaime, because if you think back to the 1970s, when we were at the height of what was going on with the Nixon government and, civil rights and sexual revolution, Cold War, all things that were kind of tension points for the average person. As a wave from that, we got all these great 70 movies like Parallax View and 3 Days of the Condor. We got that whole height of paranoia filmmaking about like the government conspiracy was a very popular theme through that era. Here, you're right. We're kind of trending on the, are we different? Are we separate? Are we alone, or are we together? Is it humanity versus everybody, or is it everybody and humanity for themselves? There is kind of a trend in those, and I wonder if that is going to be the sort of signature trend of filmmaking from this current, geopolitical situation that we're in right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just to put a cap on it, but make an analogy to music, people have brought up the stats that like the happiest music tends to be during the darkest times, as like a way for people to escape. And I believe the darkest music tends to be in like the happiest times, as like you feel safe to explore that side because everything's good, right? Just like the 90s. 90s are super good. We got lots of really dark music then. when times get bad, whether it's, just pick your eras, it's like that's when the really happy music is to like give you some hope.
Yeah.
There you go, people. There you go. Slammed all that I just said into ChatGPT, and there's your dissertation. This is the era we live in now.
Couple of video game trailers that came out from our good friends over at the Star Wars video game pile. So we got Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic trailer, which is again a little teaser. This is apparently not a direct sequel to the Old Republic games that were very popular on Xbox way back when. They are more of a spiritual successor to those, according to the information that's come out. But either way, it looks kind of interesting. I have not played the Old Republic games because I was not an Xbox gamer back in the day, although I have since purchased an Xbox and those games with the intention of playing, just haven't got to them yet. I don't know. I mean, I know those games are immensely popular, so they probably have a built-in audience, but it's always interesting to see where they will go inside these games. This one's role-playing game. Basically, you are this character, you're going through these missions, you're trying to help out the Jedi in the Old Republic and stuff like that. It'd be really interesting to see how this one lands, although it looks fantastic from the trailer.
Yeah, no, it looks good. I thought it was a movie, actually, when I first started watching it.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was an animated series or something. And then the second one they released is the Star Wars Galactic Racer trailer. This is basically like pod racing for your N64, but on a much more improved quality scale. If you liked pod racing, and we know you're
George Lucas,
we know you're out there, then this may be your jam. It doesn't really do a lot for me, but it does look, again, very nice.
Yeah, no comment. That was a bigger fish.
Yep. Jaime, do you want to jump ahead and do some of the trailers you've got as well, or should I finish with my last thing here?
You're on a Star Wars roll. Why don't you go ahead with your last one?
Okay, so we're always interested in memorabilia and all this stuff that comes from the worlds that we're fascinated by. We talk about some of the auctions for some of these rare and valuable things. We had a really cool one not that long ago. It was in mid-December. The most expensive item of Star Wars memorabilia that has ever been sold has just been eclipsed. So Darth Vader's lightsaber was previously the most expensive thing that had ever been sold. So Darth Vader's lightsaber hilt from 1977's original Star Wars was $3.654 million, and that was only in the fall. Now the original painting that is used as the half-sheet artwork for A New Hope. So this would be the horizontal poster that was put in movie theaters and was sold out there. This beautiful piece of painted art. If you see it, you'll probably recognize it. Has been sold. So this is the original one. It was sold by the family of Star Wars producer Gary Kurtz. It started bidding at $1 million, and it got $3.875 million for this original art based on this.
I've never seen this picture before.
When I was a kid, there was a trading card set that used this as you basically put the cards together, the back of the cards, and put it together, and you got this thing. And yeah, it's a really dramatic, Luke in sort of the Conan the Barbarian pose with Princess Leia splayed out in front of him and Darth Vader in behind. It's very dramatic, but very, very memorable, iconic kind of image. And man, can you believe that? Almost $4 million.
I have a T-shirt like this with the Dalek in the background instead of Darth Vader and Matt Smith and Amy Pond.
Does she sprawled out on his legs like a Frank Frazetta point in a painting?
It's called Time Wars. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. My favorite T-shirt. Cool. Yeah. No, I had not seen this one. I have seen the other. In fact, one of my desktop images is the Star Wars, the Luke Skywalker holding the lightsaber like that, the Conan Barbarian pose, like you mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Something I didn't even know existed sold for $3.8 million.
I just thought I'd check in.
I feel like the rest of the
universe. You guys didn't buy it, did you? No? Okay.
Nope. No, siree, Bob. Are we jumping back to Jaime, or are we doing my thing first, my rant?
No, we'll just keep going in order. Here we go.
Okay, here's the rant. Okay, so I just found that the Tron Ares is coming to Disney Plus on Jan 7th. I did go see it in 3D in IMAX, and it was a really good movie. So I'm looking forward to being able to see this in 3D on Disney Plus on my Vision Pro. However, Tron Legacy says now streaming in 3D, right? But plays in 2D on the Apple Vision Pro in Canada. I've not been able to confirm with my American friends if they can see it in 3D, but it says now streaming in 3D, and they lie. So I don't know, when you go on to the Disney Plus app, do you see streaming in 3D, or do you see... I guess you wouldn't see it because you're not on the Vision Pro.
No,
right?
I mean, there's no option for it when you don't have Vision Pro, right?
Yeah, and like I said, the Paramount movies, like I mentioned before, World War Z and one of the Fallout, one of the Tom Cruise Mission Impossible ones. I did watch it in 3D. I know I've seen it, and it no longer plays in 3D, even though I paid for it. So yeah, so there's a whole sort of thing about, and there's some. I've been chatting with some friends on some of the channels, like Discords and Slacks and stuff, and there's a bunch of animes and things like that are available in 3D in other countries, but not in Canada. So yeah, I put them on the list anyway. So I put Tron Ares on the list. I'm looking forward to it. It was a surprisingly good movie, compared to the. Because like I sort of said, like my thing about it was how are they going to get these people inside of Tron to come, or this world to come into the real world, which is the conceit of the trailer, right? But they did a really good job of making that believable. So I'll leave that to you guys to figure out.
Did they do a good job of making what's his name, the lead actor, likable?
Which is
Jared
lead actor.
Leto.
What's that?
Jared Leto actually was surprisingly good at it.
Yes,
he was surprisingly good in this one. He wasn't your typical, oh my god, it's Jared Leto, please stop, kind of like I mean, I really like Blade Runner 2049, but yeah, he was pretty tough to take in that movie.
He can be a very much hit or miss performer for sure.
He wasn't that guy. Well, apparently he's one of these one season character method guys. But him and Sean Penn is too. But
yeah.
But no, he was, and it's Grace, what's her name, from The Morning Show, which you guys haven't watched yet, but she was quite good in it as the human side of the story, right? So yeah, so it was kind of believable. It's like I sort of said, how are they being these virtual devices? And like I was joking, you just take your Vision Pro off and they disappear, right? But yeah, they did figure it out. And like I said, it becomes believable. But anyway. You have to suspend disbelief anyway when you watch sci-fi to a certain extent. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, so on Thanksgiving Day, the American Thanksgiving Day that just passed, there's a tradition of having...
In February? When's that again?
This is in November.
November.
There's a tradition of having the NFL, National Football League, games. And during that, the nice people at Prime Video gave us a teaser for the Madden movie, which actually comes out Thanksgiving 2026. So they give us a full year. We were talking about Avengers Doomsday, but these guys also gave us a full year heads up. So if you're not familiar with John Madden is the was the Hall of Fame football coach and announcer. Kiddos nowadays may not even understand why the NFL game, video game is called Madden. It's named after him. And some crazy person out there said, hey, what if we had Nicolas Cage play John Madden and, his boss, the owner of the Raiders, is Al Davis, played by Christian Bale. It's just a wild choice here to show us the boom and scribbling around, with the telestrator and being really heavily excited about the ins and outs of all the football plays and players. I have to say this was not on my list of things I was expecting to come out, but it is coming out on Prime Video on Thanksgiving. So.
I just don't know. It's a strange one where every once in a while when they do a biopic, I find myself thinking, I don't know how they do justice. Madden was such a larger-than-life personality. He was so emotional and emphatic and just gregarious and he's just larger than life on the sidelines and then in the booth when he was a broadcaster. It just feels like, how can they do that justice? I'm really curious to see how this lands, because he was such a distinctive person. lots of people can do an impression, but it'll be interesting to see if they can capture that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, for me, it's interesting. I like these movies too because I don't really know. I have no frame of reference for John Madden. I would see him on TV, and I would see him obviously on the games that you guys played. But you know, I don't follow football, so I have no frame of reference, right? So it's nice to have these kind of movies to figure out who this guy was, right? I assume he's like the Don Cherry of football. In a sense,
he wasn't as controversial. He was just very well liked.
Or who was it? Howie Meeker. Remember Howie Meeker?
Yeah, just somebody who was just, you know,
knowledgeable,
both loved in both roles. Like, people loved him as a coach because he was coaching a very sort of iconic Oakland team back in the day, and then from there to go into the broadcast booth where he just became like the number one color commentator for 20 years. Like, he was just so beloved.
Yeah, I noticed in the trailer that Jaime has here on the show notes for the Super NES system that, you know, in the credits, it's strategy by John Madden, right?
Yeah. I didn't include this because John Madden Football 93 on the Super Nintendo with the Madden, like that's like baked into my brain.
Oh yeah.
And since I did previously watch the Prime Video miniseries about the creation of the Madden game, it was a huge technical achievement in the era that it came out. Not this game, like it predates in like
Prime
the 80s.
Video, you said?
Prime Video, yeah. The computer game, which is where the Madden series started, was a huge technical achievement, and the only reason they even bothered doing full 11-on-11 simulation style football is John Madden dug his heels in and said, what is this? Well, 7-on-7 is easier for us to do. It's like, that's not real football. Like, no, you're not going to put my name on this thing. And since he was, as Jonathan mentioned, like such a big gregarious character, and it's a huge brand, they stuck with it and turned it into a series that continues to this day since like the 80s to like now.
Yeah. It's I remember back when I was covering gaming in the early 2000s, Madden Day was an event when the game came out in mid-August, and it was, by all the people that I was working with in the gaming industry, it was considered the kickoff of gaming season. Pardon the pun. It was very much like when Madden Day hits, from then until Christmas was when all the big games came out, when that was the big push from all the gaming companies. But Madden Day was always an event, and it was always the day that everyone was like, here we go, we're into gaming season. Yeah.
This was also not on my list. I was pleasantly surprised that Malcolm in the Middle will return, with Malcolm in the Middle, Life's Still Unfair, coming out on Hulu in what I think April, if I'm not mistaken, April 10th. And it's nuts. It looks like they brought pretty much everybody back.
Yeah.
You're like, Walter White? Like, yep, he's there. Lois? Yep. Francis and his wife? Yep, there. You know, just everybody's there, it seems like. It's even background characters like, oh my God, what was his best friend's name? I'll come back to it. I'll have to look it up. But like they brought back a whole bunch of
supporting actors.
Like, like it's nuts.
Yeah, I was a casual Malcolm watcher. I definitely watched a bunch of it, but I didn't watch all of it. But I also, when I saw this trailer, I was like, damn, that looks good. And I mean, Cranston is just such a versatile actor. He's so good. I know between him and Jane Kaczmarek, it's going to be electric. It's going to be fantastic. It's only like a 4-episode series too, right? Like they're just doing it as sort of an event series. But I imagine it's going to be pretty spectacular. And the premise seems to be that Malcolm has basically been avoiding his family and then suddenly has to deal with them. And it looks really funny.
Now, this Wonder Man, is that new? We talked about this before, didn't we?
So they've been putting different trailers. This is the most recent trailer for the Wonder Man series that's coming on Disney Plus in January 27th.
Yep.
Okay.
Gives you more. 8-episode series.
This still feels... I wanted to ask you guys about this one. So I think we talked about it a little bit in November, just the fact that this one feels like a little bit of a Take Out the Trash series, where, again, not unlike the Eyes of Wakanda, not unlike Ironheart, they're dropping it all at once, and they're not doing a ton of publicity for it. And it just feels weird because I wonder what the motivations are for them as far as what we're gonna do big and what we're not gonna do big. Did it do poorly in testing, and so they're just like, well, we already made it, we'll just put it out, but we don't care. I find it really sad and perhaps a little telling that all of these shows, common thread is that they're starring and featuring African American performers, which I don't think is very cool. That they're kind of short shrifting this, especially when Black Panther is such a huge franchise for them. It was just a huge propulsion of getting Black fans into the Marvel universe. So I feel a little weird about this one, and I love Yahya Abdul-Mateen. I think he was incredible in that Watchmen series.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting observation, right? So,
yeah,
it also brought white fans into the Black universe of Black Panther and stuff like that, right? So,
yeah.
But it's kind of like it's also like, as they say, it's important to be seen for the younger kids, right?
Yeah, representation does matter. It really does.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a reaction to wokeness, right? Which seems to be a bad word these days, right?
I don't know. I think again, burying content made for, by, and featuring people of that aren't white men is important, and here we are again. This is the third time in less than a year.
Quickly, and I don't know if this has been patched since this story came out about Mad Men's 4K stream on HBO Max, had visible crew. It's like they gave them the green screen still showing version. In this case, it was crew, who were helping the throwing up oysters scene.
Yep.
Supposedly it's we gave them the wrong file. I don't see how that happens. It feels like a really bad one. It got a bunch of episodes to deal with. It's pretty embarrassing. It's we don't have anybody kind of look through these first and make sure you don't see weird stuff. I'm not saying you got to watch it, 1x speed. You just kind of scrub through and see if you see anything weird. Or heck, we're in this age of AI. Ask AI, hey, is there anything strange here that we should know about?
Well, you're thinking with logic, Jaime. Clearly, they're not applying that.
Not cheap cash in.
Oh, it's the guy pumping the oyster sauce?
Yeah, that's how the visual effect was made. But you're not supposed to see that. I mean, yeah, we understand when you go from hey, this wasn't meant to be in the frame. It was supposed to be on standard television in a 4:3 frame or early 16:9. It's no, this is straight up you might as well have Ahmed Best running around with a Jar Jar Binks outfit, right? It's it's not complete.
Yeah, it's not a subtle mistake. It's a glaring mistake.
Last one here. I'll just read this title from The Guardian. RoboCop statue rises in Detroit. A big, beautiful bronze piece of art. It's great. Just like Rocky is associated with Philadelphia. I think RoboCop in Detroit works really well.
It is a strange thing to have a statue of. It is one of the weirder ones for sure.
That brings us to the main part of the show where we talk about something Star Trek related. We're continuing our review of the animated series, Star Trek the Animated Series, and we're wrapping up season 1, I should say, with episode 15 and 16 and the Eye of the Beholder and the Jihad. There you go. End of season 1. And just a slight note here on the Eye of the Beholder, the crew ends up in a zoo, which is the one episode I remember watching back in 1973 or whenever this came out.
Yeah, this one kind of seemed familiar to me too. I remember when I was a kid, my big brother had a talking Viewmaster, which was a short-lived 1970s fad, where not only did it have the little, the discs that showed you the pictures, but it had a little, basically when you clicked the same thing, it spun a little plastic disc, like the same kind they used to put in dolls and stuff, and it would play lines from the show. And I think it might have been from this episode. It did seem also familiar to me, so maybe this was sort of one of their, showpiece episodes or something, I don't know. Although, again, this is very, menagerie-esque, right?
Yeah. It was a strange story, a strange episode, where they kind of explore. And it was sort of kid-related because it was the baby, it's they beam down to this planet for, I can't remember if it was a distressing, it's been a month since I watched this, but they end up finding out that they're actually in a zoo, and it's the baby of the creatures that are keeping them that realizes that they do something weird to the baby or whatever, and they transport.
They accidentally transported aboard the Enterprise.
Yeah. So and then they're like, the parents are like, "Where's the baby?" And then is it that they realize that these people are not just dumb animals?
Yeah, they basically say, "Hey, actually, we realize you have potential. Come back in 15 or 20,000 years when you've evolved enough, and we'll talk to you."
Yeah. Very strange episode though, but it was sort of it was a bit like that. The fantasy planet that they went to in the original series, and then they redid a version of that.
Yep.
In the animated series, right? So
yeah. We always talk about the well-worn tropes of Star Trek. This is definitely one of them for sure. They don't understand that we're actually normal people. They want to take us over.
What was the episode where Kirk ends up on the Enterprise by himself, and it turns out that he's actually an exhibit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Same gist.
My personal favorite moment of this episode, and it's something that I realized had been missing in the previous few episodes we'd watched of the series, was when they accidentally end up beaming this child creature up to the Enterprise, and the parents are trying to figure out from the crew that are on the planet what happened. And so they start basically like probing Kirk's mind, and we get some dynamic William Shatner, Captain Kirk, acting when he's like, "My mind," and it just starts going off, and I was in stitches. I was like on the floor. They're destroying my mind. Oh, so good.
With his iambic pentameter.
Oh, so good. Yeah, and like I say, I realized in that moment, I'm like, we really haven't had much of that. We haven't really had the like crazy over the top acting, and even, we talked about how some of the early episodes were kind of missing some of the banter, some of the humor, the sort of the wryness that Star Trek, the charm that Star Trek had. But in this one, there was already like right off the hop, like there was some bickering between McCoy and Spock, where they're getting under each other's skin, and Kirk's got to step in and be the referee. And I was like, this feels more like Star Trek to me.
But I think that wasn't initially in the first bunch of episodes, but it did develop over time, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think it's funny because if you read the sort of history of Star Trek, there was a lot of competition between Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner for screen time.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. In the first, I guess the first season or whatever, right?
Yep.
Yeah, this is one that's helped a lot by the fact that it's animated, so the creatures can be very alien and foreign, and it costs just as much to animate them as it does a person.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the interesting things about this is like I've always complained about alien creatures having 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, a nose, and ears, right? Like in this case here, they kind of resemble snail-like elephants, sort of things.
Yeah,
yeah. So they're not humanoid in that sense, right? Even though there was an episode of Star Trek, The Next Generation, where they explained that, but
Yeah. I do like the idea that they were just like, these things are cute. We'll check back in on them when maybe they're not so simple.
Yeah. And we've seen from Discovery that there's still a ways to go.
Yep. Yeah, no, this was a fun episode. It was, all things being equal, not too bad as far as that. I really wish they would have cast at least one more woman so that Michelle Barrett didn't have to do every voice, because her voice is very distinctive and unmistakable, and no matter what she's doing, it still sounds like her.
Well, in the Jihad, which is the next episode 16, they had other females, but it was again her voice, right?
Yeah.
Silly. And so, what was your impressions of the Jihad?
Why don't you jump in there, Jaime?
This is one that also I think benefits by the fact that it's animated, so you can have really weird creatures. You've got, the what is he, like a griffin, I guess, kind of guy. He can fly around. You got a reptile dude that's not going to look like a cheap rubber mask. He's going to look great. You've got a bug. I don't know what that guy was. He was like a dung beetle or something that was always complaining.
It's like somewhere between that and a turtle or something. Yeah.
And then you have the sort of sexpot Lara, who was just like, again, this feels like just continue the show, the regular show, but we have to animate it now. Like it's just like so weird for children to hear her be like, well, there's not many males, and it's all females, so we're just very bold, we just go for it. And he's like, yeah, no, but maybe now's not the time for us to bone.
The part that killed me, where she's basically like trying to seduce Kirk, and she says, if we got together, it would be a green memory, and it's her way of basically saying like a fresh memory. And he said, looks at her and says, in the best William Shatner way, I already have plenty of green memories. And I was like, is that a joke about sleeping with Orion slave girls? Because that really has felt what he was saying there,
Yeah, I got the same impression. Yeah.
What a perv. Yeah, this one was good. It was weird that this is another one where like you have to take canon with a grain of salt, where they're basically like, well, this one race could raise like, what do they say, like 20 billion soldiers within a generation and destroy the rest of the universe and stuff like that. I'm like, well, where were they when the frickin' Borg arrived, or the the Romulans or whatever? Like, get those guys out there, come on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that would have made a lot more sense, but I don't know. Yeah.
You also have the return of the trope where it's like, you've done this mission, but you won't remember it, or you cannot tell the secret kind of trope. Yeah. Which happens here, where at the end it's like, hey, why are you back? What do you mean? How long have we been gone? I don't know, like a minute or two?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just flipping through IMDb, most of these episodes have like 5 pictures. This one has 63.
Oh.
I don't know why. It's like the whole episode in stills.
Yeah.
But this is very typical of 70s cartoons, where they had these like multiple different characters of all different races, and they had some sort of weird car that they drove around in, right? So.
Yeah, it was a bit of a trope then, wasn't it? What did you guys think of the sort of end of the episode, where they realize that they have the saboteur among them, and they realize who it is, and they bring the MacGuffin back, and they bring this captive back, and they're like, well, we're just gonna like completely alter his brain so he won't be a problem anymore. I was like, well, that's problematic.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. By the way, they did cast another female actor in this episode.
Oh, wow.
Jane Webb.
There you go.
Yeah, she's probably a Majel Barrett impersonator.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that's well, we have a ton of Pluribus to talk about. You want to talk about Pluribus?
Sure.
We're almost up to we're waiting for, as we speak, the last 10th episode of the season.
Nope, it's done. That's it.
Oh, this is it?
9 was it.
That was the cliffhanger finale.
Yep.
Wait, did I miss it?
No.
9 was the last
episode
one.
9?
Where she sort of says she comes back and she gets the bomb delivered to her.
Yep, that's where Manuso shows up at her house, and they have the whole conversation.
Was the last episode?
That was the final episode of season 1. 9 episodes.
Yep. Let's talk about the season finale of season 1 then.
Yeah, so I think we had left off. We'd covered the first half of the first season. Yeah. We hadn't really covered from there. So we have. We left off with Carol trying to figure out sort of what was up with them, and she'd done the whole Please Carol episode, right? That was the one where they she had tried to drug Zosha, and then we got the episode where she is trying to figure out why they're always drinking the little milk things. So where we left off was, I guess, in this one was the discovery of HDP, the human-derived protein, in episode 6, which was a whole thing. And that was an interesting one because that was the episode in Las Vegas. So we kind of see how Kumba's doing and what he's up to in Vegas, sort of having them sort of enact these James Bond-esque scenarios for him. And that one is a particularly interesting episode because it's also the one where she learns that the only way they can basically convert her to one of them is if they can extract her stem cells, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so she's like, well, as long as I don't give them permission to do that, I should be fine. And so, it's kind of an important episode for her to figure out sort of what's going on. And then we also we finished that 6th episode with Manusos basically being like, he gets Carol's message and realizes I gotta hook up with her.
Yeah.
She's the only other person taking this seriously, and starts heading north from Paraguay.
Yeah, and the Easter egg was "We are John Cena."
We Are John Cena was very funny.
Yeah.
And then episode 7 was the one where she goes back and is basically by herself in town, and is just, at first she's like living it up. She's playing golf. She's having a good time. She's doing her own thing. And that episode is also back and forth between her and Manusos, who's working his way north through some pretty arduous conditions, but, he's just refusing help along the way. And that's the one that lands with Carol basically saying, like, come back.
She gets the white paint and paints in her, her cul-de-sac.
Yeah. Come back. Yeah. She's depressed and she's lonely, and so she finally caves and says, I actually want you people back. And so they come back into her town. 8 is the one where, so in the end of 7 is where Manusos falls during the Darien Gap, right? That the episode's called The Gap. He's in the Darien Gap, which is one of the most notoriously deadly spots on the planet Earth. And he ends up getting impaled and then passes out. He wakes up in a hospital in episode 8 and steals a hospital and writes an IOU. Steals an ambulance from the hospital and writes an IOU for the ambulance and for his hospital bill. And then it starts heading north again, and then we basically spend the whole episode with Carol and Zosha trying to, and she's still trying to sort of like pick her brain, trying to figure out like how is this going to work? Like how do you basically intend to sort of make your transition to this new type of being permanent. And then, she ends up sleeping with Zosha, which is a pretty important milestone where she kind of caves finally and is like,
Yeah, but she's sleeping with everyone, though. Like,
well, that's a weird, and we could definitely talk about that. That's a weird notion,
well, this is the one where she buys into the sort of idea, well, we can eat at the fanciest restaurants, we can have the coolest meals, I can play golf in Las Vegas if I want, like she buys into the whole sort of, okay, treat me with respect or whatever, right? So or shower me with gifts or whatever. Let them really, in the form of Sosha, but let them take care of her, right? Which is what the other dude is doing in Vegas, right?
Well, that's it. And when you now have the benefit of watching the whole season, you really see that there's these two diametrically opposite people reactions, right? You get the one from Manusos, who is absolutely none of this, absolutely not. I refuse to participate. I'm not doing anything. We get Kumba, who's like, hey, all of it, everything I've ever dreamed of, I'm in. I'm going to do all this stuff. And then you get Carol, who's in the middle, right? She starts out more like Manusos, and over the course of the season, we see her drifting more towards Kumba. And then we get the final episode, right, where Manusos is coming in, he, and her have a long talk, but by then she's kind of emotionally invested in Zosha. She's enjoying her life.
She's possessive of Zosha too.
She is, and that's really interesting. And then they go away together and they start having this conversation, and she realizes, and we'd had some clues in the sort of 6th, 7th, 8th episodes that, there were a few sort of Easter eggs that led to this moment, but that they have her stem cells and they don't need her permission. They can develop it, they can get them, and they can convert her without her wishes. And so now she basically goes all in and says, I would like a nuclear bomb and to be dropped off at my front door, and basically says, fine, let's save the world, right? So we kind of set the stage for season 2, which is going to be more actively her and Manusos trying to figure out how they're going to get out of this mess, right?
Yeah, one of the things that we haven't talked about much is that Manusos has been using a ham radio to sort of find signals where there's something going on, and he discovers... Early on, he discovered that there was he had a ham radio at home, and he would dial to a number and wait for a minute or so for something to happen, like a period of time, and he would write down the frequency. And there was one particular frequency that he would get us. He got some sort of signal on, but it wasn't clear what it was. And it turns out that when he in this episode knocks out or tells them tell, because Zorsha lies down and says something's going to happen, and he has his guy that he's allowed to talk to, according to Carol, right? He puts him into a state where he can figure out that that's the frequency at which they're talking to each other. So that's going to be another sort of strategy, I think, for the next season, is that he's now figured out where they're signaling each other, like where this telepathic sort of communication is happening, how it's happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the big question is, like, when something happens in the world, when early on in episode 1 or 2, and Carol has a hissy fit and freaks them all out, she finds out she's killed 15 million people because there were planes flying in the air when she did this, and she when she lost her temper, I think, right? They would all sort of go into sort of an epileptic state or whatever, right? But
I love the running gag of the one woman that she met who is basically calls her every time she does one of these things and yells at her.
Lakshmi.
The other
Lakshmi,
survivor. Yeah. Why did you make my son cry? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Amy. But it's interesting that and hi, Carol, we love you, but we need our space, right?
Yeah.
But it's so he's figured out this thing. She's got her her bomb in her back pocket now, right? Because she jokingly had asked, I think episodes 4 or 5.
Yeah, the episode with the grenade. Yeah.
Would you give me the grenade?
It's literally called Grenade. Is the episode 3? Yeah.
Yeah, and would you give me a nuclear bomb if I asked for one? And do you want a nuclear bomb? So she has this, the end of the episode of the El Chico El Mundo. It's the girl and the guy. Is that what that says?
Or the world, the girl or the world? We have basically. Are you going to choose Zosha, the girl, or are you going to choose saving the world?
Because he asked her that, right, in English, I think, right, or at some point. It's funny how they use the Apple Translate app to communicate with each other.
Yeah.
I don't know if Apple put that in there on purpose.
I'm not stupid. It's in airplane mode.
Yeah. But the whole this is, I have this debate with people all the time about the on-device security and all that kind of stuff from Apple, right? But the fact that they used their new feature where you can talk and have it translate live, right? So they're clearly using iOS 26, right? But at one point he asks, like, is it the world or the girl you want, right? So you have to decide, right?
Yep. Yeah, it was in this. Man, it's a really interesting show as far as exploring, what
would you do?
Well, and beyond that, it's what do we owe each other, right? It's do you have a responsibility to the greater collective of humanity, or are you in it for yourself? And again, we see that contradiction between how Manusos is immediately like, you've stolen people's souls, you've taken away who they are, and that will not stand with him. But then we also see the other side of that when we see the other characters who are just like, no, like, it's, you just make the most of the situation that you're in, right? So of course this is one of those great shows for like, what would you do in these situations? But also like, do you owe humanity a greater, cause? If you have the opportunity to try and save it, do you have an obligation to save it, right?
Yeah, it's true. Coming back to what people were saying, we were talking about Rob Reiner earlier and All in the Family, right? Like, All in the Family was geared towards a liberal sensibility, right? In terms of like, who you're going to side with, Archie or Mike Stivic. A lot of people saw it the other way.
Yeah, sure.
A lot of people sided with Archie.
Well, and again, it was such an important show at such an important time because there was so much that was, the status quo was starting to shift, and there were people who were like good, and there were some people who were like, no, but I like my status quo.
Yeah. They covered a lot of ground, but I mean, coming back and how it ties into this episode or this show is that, where do you draw the line? Is the world, what's important to you, the fancy lifestyle or the world in general, right? So
yeah.
Join to others.
Yeah, it's a really interesting setup. This season was definitely, it reminded me, I'm obviously, Vince Gilligan being who he is, the creator of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, both of those shows, but particularly Better Call Saul, I found, especially the first few seasons, were a really slow burn, really slow burn, like really establishing the world, really immersing you in it, taking its time, not overcrowding it with dialogue, long stretches of quiet. Now, this is obviously even more sort of pushing that boundary, because that episode where Carol is by herself in Albuquerque. There is very little dialogue, and because Manusos is also like wading his way through northern South America at that point too, into Central America. That episode has maybe like 5 minutes or 6 minutes of dialogue in a 60-minute episode. Like that's some ballsy movie making, TV making. It'll be interesting to see what the pace is like in season 2 and subsequent seasons, if it does start to pick up at all.
Well, it's interesting too, because you mentioned that like Better Call Saul had that whole, Saul running the Cinnabon, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sections, which were just like, what the heck is this, right?
Yeah.
And then, by the same token, though, Breaking Bad also had that slow burn too, because he starts out as a chemistry professor, and the next thing you know, he's running a car wash where he launders his money, and then his wife says, "You better come to the storage unit one day,"
Yeah.
And just how it all sort of evolved. And then the whole Gus Fring thing, like you see Gus Fring with the
Humanos, it's the Chicken Brothers, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
The Chicken Brothers.
Yeah. So they're that whole section with him running the restaurant and things like that, like it's the same sort of thing. You don't find out until later on that Gus Fring is like that, who he really is, and it's his car wash essentially, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they take it from here. Do you have any sort of thoughts on like where is it just going to be from here on out, like the two of them versus the world trying to solve how do we get back to where we want to, even though neither one of us are biologists?
Well, I mean, but the funny thing about it is that I mean, he's kind of limited the scope of how far this can go, and since what is it? There was 13 people. And they're down to 12 now because one turned herself in or converted herself.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And I mean, he's kind of limited the options here. Like it's kind of, I look at it this like it's kind of, I wonder how they're going to do it, because it is really at this point just the two of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I wonder if they are going to get more of the other people on their side, or how they sort of approach this problem, because again,
without making the kid cry, right?
Well, and they don't have the same kind of it's not like they are going to be able to solve this purely through a scientific way, right?
Yeah, but that's kind of what he's Manusos is sort of sorting out. He's using a method, right, to sort of figure it out, right? And then you're right. The thing we didn't say was that Carol's eggs have been harvested, and that's where they can get her stem cells from. So she's already halfway there, right?
Well, they say it is only a couple of months, right? So
yeah,
I'm curious because they do keep checking us in on the time, right? So we sort of see, it was the time leading in the first few episodes, and now it's the time post, sort of this big event. I wonder if the point of that now is to sort of square us with sort of how much time Carol's got to work with before they can switch her over, whether she likes it or not.
Yeah, they did jump around, I think, in this episode, because the very beginning, the cold open was the girl converting herself, which happens in the future compared to where we are with Carol, right? So,
yeah.
Because it was during that episode that Zorsha told her that we had one convert.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's an important scene, which people definitely were like super upset by how the goat was treated. The poor little goat that just wants to be with its buddy. Because the village is like clearly just putting on airs to convince that teenage girl. I think they're like in Peru, right? To join. And when she does, it's like, well, there's no point in continuing this facade. So they just immediately stop singing. They release all the livestock, basically all the things that were probably kept there to keep her feeling like it was normal. And I think that's probably intended to contrast really hard with like how Carol has been sort of living this fantasy with Zosha, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of foreshadowing in that first scene, and it was really well done, where it's like you're not sure if it's going to work, and then it works, and you're like, oh, and now it's just business as usual for the others.
Yeah, these guys are Carol and the other 13 or whatever, 12, They're like in a zoo, really, because they're being observed, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like, obviously, the paranoia factor that Manusos brings, because he's super paranoid about all this stuff, is just like, checking for bugs and all that stuff. And again, that's how it leads to we get the tip off of, oh, they find this thing, but it was actually her wife that had it there because she was worried about her drinking when they were trying to harvest her eggs, and so we get that foreshadowing that pays off later on. And yeah, again, good stuff, really good stuff. And I mean, I was really happy to see. We didn't really talk about the Golden Globe Awards because they're not really a terribly perfectly aligned awards show. They are a little
foreign press.
They're
right?
a little bit made up sometimes, but I was very happy to see Ray Seahorn got a nomination for Best Actor, and Pluribus got a nomination for Best Drama in that because. Yeah, I think they're both definitely were both. She was very strong, and this was a very strong first season for a show.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Cool.
Now, a word from our sponsor.
Let's be honest. Buying cannabis shouldn't be complicated, sketchy, or low quality. That's why I want to tell you about Mood.com. That's MOOD.com. Mood ships federally legal cannabis straight to your door. No medical card, no hassle. And here's the kicker. The quality is better than anything you'll find at your local dispensary. Yeah, I said it. Whether you're into edibles, concentrates, flower, or just looking to explore, you'll find it all at Mood. And it's not just the variety that makes them stand out. Every product is sourced from small American-owned family farms that care deeply about what they grow. It's cannabis you can trust, delivered discreetly, and ready to elevate your mood. And because you're a listener, you get 20% off your first order. Just head to Mood.com, that's MOOD.com, to get started.
Now, back to the show.
Well, let's talk about the Stranger Things finale. The end of all. So I just saw a video before we started recording of the actor who plays the big bad.
Oh, Jamie Campbell Byers, yeah.
Yeah, very English accent.
Yes, yeah.
And I had to look at him I'm looking at him for a minute. I'm like, who is he in the show? And then I went, oh, wait, it's him.
Yeah.
Henry, right?
Yep. Yeah. And he's, again, very handsome man. Like, he looks very different when you see him outside of the styling of the show, too. You're like, he's very, bohemian and long hair and I
just have to comment, too, that I just finished Alien, the Alan Tudyk's show. And Linda Hamilton plays the same character.
Resident Alien? Yeah.
Resident Alien. Linda Hamilton plays the same character.
Does she really?
Much. Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
I'll be honest, and we can certainly get into the minutia of this, but I thought she was by far the weakest part of the season. By far. Just not... Yeah. I didn't find her performance good. I didn't find the plot involving the military very good. And I'm going to talk about the plot hole that you could drive a truck through as we talk about this, too, because there's a real problem with that plot line. I would like to start by saying, even though this season was a little inconsistent and confoundingly focused on a new character after 4 seasons of building up all these other characters, the choice to have Holly be the centerpiece. I saw a breakdown. Somebody did a little breakdown online of the screen minutes for all the different characters. She had the most minutes of any character in the entire 5th season, which
that's what I was calling it Stranger Things Academy. Right?
Yeah, it was a strange and again, it was good. I get it because some of the other, the ones who were the kids to start with
Stranger Things TNG
have all just sort of, aged past their childhoods to bring in more children to give it that, young children's perspective and vibe. I think added some stuff to this season, but it was also at the expense of some of the characters that we probably could have benefited from spending more time with, who we already love. So that was a little strange to me, but before I go off on my soapbox, I want to ask, Jaime, you have now watched all of this, I assume, and I want to know what you think of sort of the build-up and the landing of this.
I think... So I have seen everything, including the series finale. I think they did a pretty good job. Are there notes to be given on the 2-hour finale, which has a climax? It has a climax, about halfway in, and then the whole denouement and epilogue is extensive. But I will point out to people a couple of things. One, think about how season 8 of Game of Thrones ends, and 2, also remember complaints about how Voyager ends, and everybody's like, wait, so we didn't see what happens to them? Like, they just barely, like, they didn't even get to Earth. Like, they technically were in Earth, approaching Earth. And this has, I think, less the opposite problem, but it feels like a satisfying ending to a decade-long franchise that's like very difficult to stick the landing here. Again, am I going to sit here and pretend there aren't notes? No, but I think I felt relatively satisfied when I came out of this.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's never going to satisfy everybody. That's impossible. It's an impossible task, but it's a credit to the popularity and the success of the show that there's always going to be people who want more of one thing and less of another thing and everything else. I agree with you. I think I enjoyed more of it than I didn't. It was a little Return of the King for me as far as the 16 different endings. We ended here and then there's graduation and then there's but it was also, I think, a byproduct of the success of the series. They just kept adding more and more and more characters. And that's good because, when you get into those, 6, 7, 8 episodes that came out last week, 5, 6, 7 that came out last week, I liked that they brought, their old science teacher in. And I liked that they had, all these sort of supporting characters. Robin's girlfriend gets involved with the group. And I like that there was this huge supporting cast that they had built up around it. But then you got to pay that all off, right? And so they just kept doing all these endings in the final episode. Oh, and then this person did this, and then this person did this, and then this person did this. And let's do the graduation scene. Let's do the after graduation scene. Let's do the after graduation scene. Let's go where did they all go? And then, it felt a little bit drawn out. And yeah, of course, it's nice to know that these people are, all good, but the part that really got me, and this is where I might just take a minute if you guys don't mind, but okay, so the episode starts, episode 8, the final episode of the series, starts with not the group who have finally gotten there into the Upside Down and have this great plan they have to execute. We don't rejoin them. We start with Kay, right? We end up with this Linda Hamilton character of Kay, and she's furious because they, snuck into the base and they did this, and how dare they? And then we see her in these subsequent scenes where she they figure out oh no, we're gonna catch us. So they catch Mr. Clark and Erica in the church for having opened the gates. And then they see the squawk van, and they go to the squawk, and they finally end up capturing Max and Robin's girlfriend. Mm-hmm. So they've got the 4 of them in custody, and then at the end of the episode, or the middle of the episode, frankly, when they come out of they're on their way, they're leaving, they've set the C4, they're going to blow up the Upside Down, they've killed Vecna, it's a whole thing, and they come back out, and there's the whole group of military standing there with guns pointed at them, and they're like, you're this, blah blah blah, and we know that Kay is obsessed with getting Eleven's blood and whatever. And then, of course, we get the sort of the biggest moment of the episode, which is theoretically where 11 sacrifices herself to, get everybody else away from the drama of trying to protect her. But in that moment, then we see that we get this tearful farewell with Mike. Everybody's sad. Elle's gone. It's a huge tragedy. And then they're 18 months later. That 18 months later opens in a federal penitentiary. There's no way that particularly the adults involved, maybe not some of the little kids, but there is no world where Hopper and Joyce and Mr. Clark and all of the adults are in frickin' jail. There's no world in which they're not in jail.
Well, I was just thinking about that. The shooting of all the army army guys, right? Like
they, to get through there, they murdered like 10 U.S. soldiers and had been for like theoretically months before that had been like absolutely breaking crimes left, right, and center. There's no world in which Kay isn't like, I tell you what, how about we all take a trip down to Leavenworth, because that's where you're spending the rest of your natural lives. I'm sorry, I just don't buy it, because what's their out? What did they say? They come back and they're like, well, we did save the world. They're like, prove it. They're like, yeah, we can't. Okay, and also the thing we wanted the most is this young girl who you are now culpable in her, basically committing suicide and not giving us what we needed to. So the military is not nice. They're not going to be like, well, we didn't get 11, so I guess you can all go now. Like, that just felt like the biggest plot hole. It's in the moment, I'm like, there is no way that the U.S. military isn't like, guess what? Everybody over the age of 12 is going to prison for life.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was thinking the same thing as I was watching the episode where, I've forgotten the girl with the curly hair, Six pops out of the top of the truck and starts taking out people.
Yeah, Nancy. She's murdering people left and right. And so is Hop. Hop is on the other side because he comes out through the Radio Shack through the tunnels and starts shooting at them from behind. They murder easily 6 or 7 people just going in there, let alone all the people they killed before. They don't understand Vecna, so all the people who were massacred before they blame, all the people that were killed in the Upside Down they blame. Like, they would have these people on like dozens of cases of murder alone, let alone all the other things, the thefts, the break-and-enters, there's just no world in which. And then Hop's like, yep, back to being chief of police. Like, that's not a thing. You don't get to do that. What are you talking about? Like, it seems like there's a whole chunk missing from between that moment where Elle does what she does to the epilogue of like maybe the Paul Reiser character is it Dr. Owens from the previous season. Maybe he comes in and like gets them off the hook or something, but like I don't understand how they make that leap from like, well, we're all at gunpoint from the US military to and we've just resumed our normal lives. Like, that just does not compute to me. And again, I thought it was a fun episode. I thought the action was well done. The whole Mind Flayer is the headquarters thing was fun. Like, lots of good stuff to enjoy there. But that really took me out in that moment. I'm like, there's just no way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. My headcanon says, okay, so maybe since it was like a Dr. K's stuff was like all Black Ops stuff, right? So maybe there is like implied blackmail since the crew knew a whole bunch of info and maybe could bluff of like, hey, I've sent this packet to the media and we'll blow this up if we go missing, right, to keep you from absconding away with us and sending us to somewhere.
I completely agree with you, Jaime. Now, if you could just go back and get them to write that part in so it actually makes a bit of sense.
Maybe there'll be like, there was like a Broadway play that explains some of the pieces that fit in this puzzle. Maybe there's like a Rogue One 18 months kind of period that they're going to bring together for like a holiday special or something. The other thing in terms of the soldiers going missing, like I'm going to reach way back to Iron Man 2008 where training accident is the official military explanation for what happened to all these dudes.
Yeah. No, and you're right. Like, I mean, these people did do a lot of heinous and horrible things. So maybe we're supposed to imagine that they exposed what Kay was up to and, revealed what he was doing to those poor pregnant women and revealed that, they had sent people inside who murdered Callie and kept her prisoner and all this stuff. But at a certain point, like, the military is pretty good at cover-ups. Like, it shouldn't have been that hard for them to be like, I don't know what they're talking about. I suggest we have them executed. Yeah, like I say, it was just a little bit of a bridge too far, which is, again, you suspend disbelief. There's lots of stuff to suspend. There was lots of, nits to pick over the course of this season and the whole series. But that one felt a little bit like, come on, just give us like a smidge more logical conclusion, closure, something that makes sense out of all this. So I
do have a big question.
Sure.
Can I ask a big question?
Yeah, please do.
So the kids, like, they're in the, I don't know what we're calling the upside down, that big spider thing,
The
right?
abyss, yeah.
They're in the big abyss, right? And they got the tube into their faces. I don't know if you guys know about the centipede thing where you tie the people together.
The human centipede, yeah.
Yeah. So my big question is there something attached to the other end?
The idea is it's supposed to be attached to the mind flare, and it's filling them with the particles, the same stuff that they stuck into Will, right? It's supposed to basically convert them into more like him.
So they're like, they're batteries or whatever. Yeah. Okay. No, I just thought maybe like I thought they were feeding them something through there, or it's got to go somewhere, right?
Yeah, they never really covered that one either, but no, I don't know. I guess the question I have for you two is, they do give you this little out at the end of, is she or isn't she dead? Did Elle make it out? And, was the theory that Mike puts forward the truth, or is it just something you're supposed to take on faith? Personally, I view it as we're not going to kill off.
It's the Hollywood ending.
Yeah, well, we're not going to kill off Millie Bobby Brown, or we're going to at least leave the door open to her having lived through this, because no one eventually down the road at Netflix isn't going to be like, if they want to come back and do a spin-off, or if they want to come back and do a sequel or whatever, they will gleefully give Millie Bobby Brown and some of the supporting characters big bucks to come back and do more Stranger Things, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't cut off your meal ticket, right?
True. I mean, yeah. I mean, it was an interesting show, but I mean, I'm just talking about the 5 years in general, right? Like it was a bit disjointed. I mean, what were we driving to this final sort of alien entity taking over Henry and making them his pawn, and that's why he did the stuff. And
I thought that was actually interesting. Sorry, go ahead, Jaime.
Oh, I was going to say, I was worried they were going to do like a Kylo Ren redemption, and they didn't. I mean, certainly he was influenced at a very young age by the Mind Flayer. So we're talking about Henry, who becomes Vecna, right? Like, that he experiences some pretty severe trauma. It's like, I don't know, he's like a Boy Scout or something, or a Cub Scout. Gets shot in the hand by this crazy dude in a cave, which triggers a self-defense mechanism. He brutally bashes a dude to death, which is going to be super traumatizing, and has this weird alien rock thing just like absorb into him, right? So I'm not going to say the Mind Flayer has like no influence, but when given the choice, he said, yeah, I'm on board with his plan. I'm not being controlled by the Mind Flayer. He's not like being puppeteered by the Mind Flayer, which people had speculated. He's arguably a victim, but in like a abusive relationship kind of victim. But he is explicitly making the role playing choice, right? If you're gonna go Dungeons and Dragons as a theme, he's explicitly making the role playing choice of like, yeah, I'm one of the baddies. Like, I think other people should suffer just as I have suffered.
Yep.
So is this, not having played Dungeons and Dragons, but is this whole series like a Dungeons and Dragons game?
Yes, very much so. I think that's why they used it as the sort of framing device for starting the series with Will the Wise and all the kids, ending their
could
campaign.
It in fact be just like the whole series be an actual playing of a game?
Well, that's how they frame it with the closing credits for the final episode, right? Is the idea that you then see inside that these characters meet these archetypes, and then basically the way they're framing them with the pictures and all that stuff, that's straight out of a D&D manual.
Okay,
so that's very much
the end credits. Yeah,
that's very much framing it as in, this all was the Stranger Things module.
It was all a dream.
Yeah.
The three archetypes of magic, and I hope I'm not going to screw this up. I'm sure people are going to fact check this one for Dungeons and Dragons, is the difference between like wizards. So Will played Will the Wise as a wizard in their board game that they were playing.
Mm-hmm.
And a sorcerer, which comes up again with Will when he gets the connection, gets Vecna powers, and Vecna himself as a warlock, I'm going to argue here. So the difference in magic for Dungeons and Dragons is, if you are a wizard, you believe that magic comes from learning, so you spend time studying and understanding spells, very kind of Harry Potter-esque, if you want to think of it that way, schooling. Sorcerers believe it's just like inherent, a part of you. It's just a thing you do, kind of like the Force, but not without the training part, right? Like you just feel the force.
Yeah, it's inside you. Yeah.
Yeah. And warlocks.
Elizabeth Montgomery Bewitched kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
and
born
warlocks get their magic from making a pact with an evil being, which is why I put Vecna in the warlock category, of like having the pact with the mind flayer to get his power.
Right.
It's not exactly 1-to-1, but I do feel like they intentionally tried to cover all of those in there.
Yeah, no, there's definitely when they were showing those credits and they were sort of putting the names to the different characters, I was like, yeah, no, it's always obviously been an undercurrent and a pretty overt one throughout the show, but it really was very pointed when they did that. It was pretty clear that there were the parallels. I also really liked. It's funny of the many different endings they did. The moment when they finish their campaign and they have that conversation about, well, maybe Elle lived, and then when they're all going upstairs for dinner and the little kids come down and they go and run around the table and they're going to sit and play their game, right? It's Derek and Holly and the kids that were part of the kidnapped kids. And then Will looks over and he looks at them and then he looks at the top of the stairs and sort of has that moment of like, oh, I'm not a kid anymore. They're kids. My time in doing this is over. Now it's their turn. That sort of turning of the page kind of moment. I thought that was actually really well made and told. That sort of, you really felt it in that moment, especially because those kids that we grew up, like, I mean, without exaggeration, those kids were 11 years old for the most part. I was laughing when I saw a couple interviews this week where they're like talking to some of these, young performers, and like, a couple of them are like, yeah, I just turned 21, I just turned 22, I just turned 23. Like, it's crazy that like it's been a 10-year journey to get these 5 seasons out. Obviously, the pandemic certainly played a role in some of the delays. It probably should have ended a couple of years back, but it's pretty crazy that like, you go back and you see the interviews with, 11-year-old Millie Bobby Brown and 11-year-old Gaten Matarazzo, and you're just like, holy moly, like that's crazy. They were really, really young, and it's not unlike the Harry Potter actors and stuff too, where they cast them very young and they played, and you grow with them and they grow with them and they grow with their characters, and but it was really like when I saw obviously Finn Wolfhard, now in his early 20s, having that moment of looking at his little sister and their friends and then looking and realizing like, it's my turn to come out of the basement. I got to get on with my life. I'm now not that kid anymore playing down in the basement playing D&D. I thought that was really quite poignant.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's a good show.
You know what? You're always going to be able to nitpick these things. I obviously took the time to go back and watch the whole run before this final season, and I've taken the time to watch each of these episodes, with the exception of the finale. I've seen each of these episodes twice now, because I wanted to really kind of not just have a first impression, but kind of soak it in a little bit. There's problems. Yes, they short shrifted. Some of the characters didn't get as much development as you would have hoped. They didn't get as much screen time over the final season. Like, you can pull a lot of threads if you want to, but considering all the stuff they had to work with and the timelines they had to work with and the budgets they had to work with and just the scope of what they had built, it's a pretty good ending. It's a pretty good ending. It's a little ambiguous and some people won't like that. It was a little bit, drawn out, and some people won't like that. But in the end, I'm glad they didn't kill more than one character. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, they're going to kill Steve Van Dustin and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, they didn't need to. This isn't Game of Thrones. It never was. We've never lost more than like one, new / occasional character per season, right? We lost Eddie, we lost Barb, we lost, all things being equal, not, A-list characters from this. It would have sucked if they'd killed off. Sure, but if they had killed off, like, any of the main core kids and all this, that would have sucked. Like, I'm glad that they didn't. And people were like, oh, I was expecting the whole season to be much darker. I'm like, but we don't need that. Like, we don't need all these people to die to make it satisfying, I don't think.
Cool. All right, well, let's move on to the watch list, shall we?
Sure we shall.
Okay, so so we've had like a month, and I've been very carefully trying to like call the 20 movies I saw in the last month. But I want to start off with When We Went Mad, which is, I think we've talked about this before. This is it's a documentary that's, I think, on Prime. That is all about Mad Magazine. And
yeah,
and how it kind of came to be. And they talked to all the surviving writers and artists that were on it, and they talk about the publisher who I think he passed away a few years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how he was sort of like a Gene Roddenberry kind of thing. And I read Mad Magazine religiously when I was a kid.
Same.
And Jonathan gave me a Mad Magazine
for Christmas. Yes, I did. And who's on the front cover? It's Alfred E. Newman as a Ferengi.
As a Ferengi, yeah. It's the TNG episode, or
it's DS9. I think. Yeah.
And I actually wanted to ask you. You also gave me a Lower Decks graphic comic book. Is that a digest of all the books that came out?
It's not. That was the original one that we talked about. The one that Jaime mentioned. It's like the choose your own adventure kind of style one. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I haven't started reading yet, but
super fun. Really, really, really good. I thought you get a kick out of that one.
Cool. All right, so I can go back and read it and change the story.
Absolutely.
Right? Alrighty. Okay. Cool. So that was cool. And then the second movie on my list here is F1, which I saw in IMAX when it came out, and with the good IMAX stereo sound. I got to tell you, it starts with a whole lot of love, and when that track starts playing in the IMAX theater with the 27 surround speakers. Correct me if I'm wrong. Amy, our biggest fan can correct me, but I don't care. But it's amazing to see that in a theater, right? It was very good to see it on the Vision Pro, and the thing about it, what's interesting about the Vision Pro is, okay, there's a couple of things about the Vision Pro which if you haven't tried it, you don't know this, but one of the things that's annoying about it is when you move your head quickly and you look around the environment around you, there's this kind of stuttering that happens, there's a kind of blurring that happens with the background. And it's even more noticeable on the M5, which is the latest version, which I have now, right? But when you watch movies and you see the so many frames per second, you see a stuttering when the camera pans, right? And you'll see it in movies when you watch it on TV, but it's really noticeable when you're on the Vision Pro. I don't know what Apple did. Well, I do know what they did. They took iPhone 15s and they modified them and took them apart and put them onto. They used the cameras from iPhone 15s, and they rebuilt the cameras that are on the cars, and it's just like Top Gun, where Brad Pitt is really driving this racing car and things like that, right? The frame rate is so smooth, it's unbelievably good, right? So yeah, I don't know if you guys seen it yet on I think there was a 4K that got sent your way. But it's a great movie. It's a good movie to really sort of get in behind. If you can play it with a good stereo, do it for sure. It's Top Gun. It's as far as tropes go, it's the same story. It's like this this outlier guy comes in and saves the day, and he's the older, wiser. It's actually more like Top Gun Maverick, I should say.
Yeah.
He's the older, wiser, smarter guy, right? Who had potential, but it's the natural. It's like all those kind of sports movies, right? Mm-hmm. But it's still a very good movie. And if you're into F1 at all, you learn a lot about it. But of course, there's he would probably never be able to drive the way he does in this movie. The way he's a bit of a maverick in that sense. But anyway, good movie. The other thing too is Jonathan and I talked about Letterboxd a couple of weeks ago, or last time we were on the show. And 2 weeks ago, 2 episodes ago, I think, right? I got a letter from them. I don't know if you got an email from them too, saying, "Hey, you want to go see We Bury the Dead? There's a screening happening downtown." And I said, "Sure, why not?" It was like Monday 2 weeks ago, I think. It's the new movie starring drawing a blank now, Ray from Daisy Ridley, right? It's a zombie apocalypse kind of movie, but different kind of style of zombies. It takes place in Tasmania. It's filmed by the Tasmanian Film Group, so it's all about. She's an American who's living in Tasmania. She's going to find her husband who's at a conference somewhere. And when the island, it's kind of like 28 Days, where 28 Days is all of England gets taken over, right? But here it's just Tasmania, which is a smaller country, I think.
It's actually part of Australia. It's a province.
No, I know, but it's like an island.
Yeah.
It's not physically connected to the continent. Right?
Nope.
Anyway, so like a little stewing pot, right, sort of thing. Anyway, so it's a very good movie. It's surprisingly good. But it's your typical zombie kind of movie. They're not fast and running around, but it's like how do you go save somebody? And 3.5 stars. I thought it was a pretty good movie. But yeah, I got to see it for free because I'm a Letterboxd member. And I got a bunch of quick hits. So I did get a chance to watch Brightburn. It was on some channel. It's basically the story of Superman if Superman was really not a good guy.
If he was a psychopath, yeah.
Yeah, he was a psychopath, yeah. And he has all these powers and whatever. So it's a pretty good movie, blows up real good. As I mentioned before, I did get a chance to buy Spinal Tap 2. I'm a huge Spinal Tap fan. I've watched it 1,000 times. This Spinal Tap 2 does actually go to 11, so it's pretty good.
So that's funny.
Yeah. And of course, it's Rob Reiner's last movie, right? So pretty good. One Battle After Another, I'm calling it right now, that is going to be nominated for just about everything going forward. It is really good, edge of the seat, kind of thing. I love Leonardo DiCaprio plays a rebel without a clue. Like, he's kind of his girlfriend / wife is the brains behind the whole thing, and she's the big one. And yeah, and then Sean Penn plays this out of control army dude who they take advantage of back in the day, and now go forward, and it's 20 years later. He's Caprio's in hiding, his kid's in hiding as well, and sort of how the whole network kind of takes care of each other, and how the U.S. Army can just instantly decide you're a drug mule or whatever, and then just turn the whole agencies around. It's really good, really good story. I forgot the name of the director, but he does good work. And then I saw I saw Roof Man, which is a good movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I didn't realize it's a true story about a guy.
The guy who lived in the Toys R Us, yeah.
Lives in the Toys R Us, yeah, and he robs a place, and then he lives in Toys R Us for a while, and really good movie. And actually has a relationship with one of the employees, and then at the end of it, I found it as a true movie. And I did manage to watch 2 Ethan Cook and Trisha Cook films. Apparently, they're all marked as directed by Ethan Coen, because the way the Academy works is you can only have one person named as a director. Yeah, so this is why his brother was always a director, and he was named as a producer. So I think Trisha, I don't know if their relationship, Trisha Cook, maybe I don't know.
No.
But they did 2 movies, and they both star Margaret Qualley. Honey Don't.
Oh, right? Yeah, I've seen that. That looks good. I haven't seen that movie yet.
It's interesting. It's I think she's sort of going to be like, how the Coen brothers always had the same sort of guys in them, or people in them, right? Or Quentin Tarantino also has his fallback guys that he always has. Sort of, I think she's going to be their person. And then I went back and watched the Driveway Girls, which is a few years ago, but it was actually called Driveway Dykes, but they had to change the name.
Yeah, well.
So anyway, so and that was a pretty funny movie. It's about a couple of girls who rent a car, and it turns out it has Pedro Pascal's head in it, in the trunk, and a mystery case, like Pulp Fiction, right? But you do get to find out what's in the case, right? So it was an interesting movie, but and very much in the sort of style of the Coen, not quite Coen Brothers movie thing, but Ethan Coen, I think, is got a very distinctive style.
Yeah,
and that is as brief a watch list as I can give you guys.
Oh, good. Got a lot done in December, buddy.
Yeah. Oh no, this is only half of it.
Stay tuned to the next episode of Spotcast for Tim.
I didn't talk about TV shows and other stuff. Yeah. Carry on. Jaime, I think you're up.
Yeah, a couple of videos. We know that Sesame Street is on Netflix now. Not exclusively, but they've got the license. So a couple of videos taking advantage of the fact that some Netflix properties unrelated to Sesame Street are available. So we have the YouTube video of If Sesame Street Was Set in Hawkins, which I don't want to spoil too much, but the very end has a oh my goodness, I would absolutely buy this merchandise character at the end.
It was adorable. I've watched this video. It's adorable.
And then they also have the Forks Out, a Benoit Blanc Sesame Street mystery.
Also adorable.
Wake Up Dead Man. Yeah. I mean, it'd be kind of weird having like a Daniel Craig merchandise puppet in your living room, but I wouldn't judge you for it. It just wouldn't be like the first choice out of all the many plethora of characters. But they're all they're kind of interesting here, right? Because like I don't think these are meant for like kids. I feel like this is targeted at adults because neither of these properties are intended for children.
No,
That's true, but they do spell waffle, and like they.
Yeah, like they spin it into a positive way. Yeah,
yeah. Cool. So these are so now that Netflix has Sesame Street, these are legit because they're obviously the same actors and the real puppets and stuff. It's not like a knockoff, right?
Yeah.
No, it's legit. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I follow the Sesame Street and the Muppets and all that stuff on social, and they've been actually having a really good time. One thing that we didn't really talk about, and I guess I could put it in here, is they're rebooting the Muppet Show. It's in 2026. Seth Rogen is producing the return of the Muppet Show for Disney Plus. It's coming in, I think, April, and I can't wait. It was my favorite show growing up. I absolutely love the original Muppet Show. Is one of my all-time fill in my heart favorites, and so that's super exciting.
And Fraggle Rock too. Remember that?
Love Fraggle Rock. Very Canadian. Yeah. Okay, so I too have made some time for things over the holidays, but the one I really just wanted to grab is I saw we had a pretty full list here. So there was something that happened in December that I think a lot of people had issue with, which was that the President of the United States renamed the famed Kennedy Center, which is Center for the Performing Arts in Washington, the John F. Kennedy Memorial Center, that was named obviously after the assassinated president. Mr. Trump added his own name to it, and a lot of people did not like that. But not everybody is as creative as this writer from South Park by the name of Toby Morton. Toby is one of the writers on South Park, and he saw a story rumor that they were going to name this thing after him. So he went online quietly and registered the domain name TrumpKennedyCenter.org. And
right.
So he decided to turn this into a satire site. And so he has made this now a very, very funny piece of satire, where if you go to the site, it's like, coming in January to the Trump Kennedy Center, the Epstein dancers are coming. He's just, in typical South Park humor fashion, really gone and just made it very silly and is using it as a satire. And of course, this is not sat well with, the members of the current administration in the United States, who have quickly said that they're talking about, they think that he should have to surrender the site name, and they think this is very upsetting, and they want, to try and get it back from him, and they're doing all these things. And I'm going to read you his statement in return to this, which I think is a beautiful way to protest what he sees as an infringement on free speech. I'm going to also have to use some replacement words.
Yeah.
So from our friend here, Toby Morton. Satire is protected speech. Confusion is a legal requirement, not a feeling. Political parody is not infringement. Criticism is not cyber squatting. And trademark law isn't a panic button for institutions that don't like being laughed at. I'll proceed accordingly while you quietly go blank yourselves. Dog bless. Love, Toby. I highly encourage you to check this site out, especially because the administration does not want you to. I think my resolution, if we're talking about New Year's resolutions, is to stop caring about not calling out the things that I see that really are just disgusting. And I'm going to start with, I don't want to make this a political podcast, but I'm tired of pussyfooting around what is just absolutely loathsome and despicable behavior by some people in the world, not limited to the current administration of the United States, but there is a lot of BS going on out there, and I'm tired of it. And I think we should all be tired of it, and I don't think you should be afraid to say something about it. So kudos to you, Toby, for doing this and doing it the right way. If you don't have to scream and shout at the top of your lungs, sometimes quietly twisting the knife is way more effective. And bravo to you. And I thought that was a lovely way to start the new year for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just speaking of nut bars that are out there, did you know that Pierre Poilievre's first name is actually Jeff?
No, but sure.
Apparently he changed it because he wanted to be like his boyfriend Justin, and get and build off of the Pierre Trudeau, branding.
Yeah. This is his nickname up here for you, Jaime, and for our American listeners is MAGA Maple MAGA. He's this wannabe populist, and yet he lacks the one thing that sadly Mr. Trump does have, is a certain charm which seems to captivate people. He is just charmless, and yet somehow thinks that he can try and do the same things, and it just never lands, and it becomes the butt of many jokes.
He's been a politician his entire working life.
Yep.
He's never had a real job.
Yep.
And he's at 30 he had a pension.
Yep. A lifetime government pension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a travesty of being a Canadian. That's the bad side of being a Canadian citizen, I guess. Anyway, on that note, I guess that's it for another week. So, hey, Jonathan, people want to get in touch with you. Where would they find you?
You'll find me on top of a soapbox screaming at the top of my lungs. But I suppose, you know what? I'm not posting anymore. I give up. You know where I'm going to post? I'm going to post on our Slack channel. You know why? Because I like the people who are there. That's where you can find me. Find me on our Slack channel.
This is the way.
Okay, good. But it's like, well, Mark never posts anything. He just gives you his email address.
I post on our Slack channel more than I post anywhere else, and I like the people that interact with me there, and I'm happy in that corner of the world.
All right. And how many people are in touch with you? Where do they find you?
I'm on Instagram as @DevWithAHair.
All right. Well, my name is Tim Mitra, TIMMITRA. I am found lurking on Slack. No, yeah, I'm on Slack. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Ice Cubes. No, I'm on Mastodon. Ice Cubes is the tool I use. I'm on Threads as well, which I go there for my political rantings. Like, I don't rant, but I read the rants by nut bars. I am on Substack, which I don't talk about much. I'm on Reddit with that handle, and I'm also on this new Canadian thing called A. Yeah, so it's a Canadian social network, and I post things there occasionally. So, yep. And then till next time, we'll see you in the future. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Spotcast podcast. If you want to find out more about the podcast or see the episode show notes, visit the Spotcast website at spotcast.com. If you have feedback or questions, you can get in touch with us on the website. If you like the show, please consider recommending us to a friend, writing a review on iTunes, or pledging any amount at patreon.com/spotcast. You can find details on how to help us on our website, spotcast.com/sponsor us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the future.
Well, yeah. You can always divide it into couples,
Yeah, sure. You do that. Let me know how that works.
Well, in fairness, we hadn't talked to each other in a month, so, lots to cover. Yeah, I wish I'd had as much time as you had to watch stuff. I honestly feel like I was able to have this week off, which is my first week off in a while, and I still have barely made time. I feel like I've just I did finally watch all of Fallout. I finally caught up on Fallout.
Oh, did you? I was gonna add that because I think the third episode came out today.
Yeah, I watched the first two, and I finished the first season and then watched the first two. And
okay,
it's funny because Xavier and I have spent this week moving stuff around the house. We actually set up our surround sound stuff in the rec room and stuff for the first time since we moved in here. So I haven't had
Where's the rec room in your house?
It's that room that's opposite our bedroom, that big where we had all the boxes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that room was always intended to be like our sort of home entertainment space. We kind of just jammed.
I thought we were going to set my band up.
Oh, well, there'll be plenty of room for that too. But we finally set up, a couch in there.
This rec room that he's talking about, Jaime, you could put your and my house into.
It's a big room. It's a big room. It's also acoustically treated, which is nice too. So like the floor and the walls have like acoustic treatment, so it's not, doesn't bother the rest of the house and stuff, which is nice. But we set up the stereo
heat pump in there too.
There is set up the speakers and the whole nine. And I watched the second episode of Fallout. It was the first time I had watched anything with like proper sound again in like more than a year since we moved. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot how good it was to watch things in like action movies, sci-fi and stuff like that. Xavier and I set up our go-to testing movie is always Dark Knight. We've watched the opening scene of Dark Knight together probably 20 times.
Bank robbery?
The bank robbery.
Yeah,
We've watched that scene like 20 times because it's always our go-to to sort of see how things sound and stuff like that, because it's such a great scene and it's so well done. And the sound effects are really good. The breaking glass, the gunshots, the electricity and we set it up, and sure enough, we fired that thing up and we're like, oh, it's so good to have good sound. You forget sometimes, and honestly, it made me immediately, because there's so much good content I watched this year that I didn't have that for, like Severance, like Pluribus, like Andor, that I just watched on a TV. And this sounds good and it's good, but when I clicked that on, it made me realize like how much better the experience is when you got better sound.
Yeah. Yep.
It really makes a huge difference. It's exactly what you were talking about, Tim, about the going to see things in the IMAX theater, right? Like sometimes it really changes the experience, and I am excited to finally have some of this stuff set up so I can actually sit down and watch and enjoy some of these more. I must admit, I'm really tempted to go back and do an Andor rewatch, because I've seen, as we have now just come to the year end and starting the new year, as we're getting into awards season, I've seen clips from Andor popping back up, and I just keep getting reminded of how unbelievably good that last season was.
Yeah, the sound in that good. That's good shit. That's good. I mean, I obviously watch it with good sound here too, but yeah, you have. I was going to say, you have enough room in that space to get a big projection TV. I don't know if you can afford it, like a on the wall kind of thing, like almost like cinematic size, right?
Yeah, we're debating that, because Xavier is very much like we have enough room in there. We should get a projector and we should get a screen and we should watch things big. My problem is that I don't have enough knowledge of those to know how good or bad it's going to look. And I feel really weird about spending the money when I can't try that out. And there's nowhere down here that has like a setup where you can go check it out. In the Toronto area, Montreal area, even if we went over to Quebec City, we might be able to find something where like you could actually go to a place that specializes in that and go and sort of see what you're getting and decide. But Xavier's sort of trying to describe stuff to me, and I feel very, very awkward about like just jumping in. But when we first started like mocking up, like, well, maybe this could go here and this could go here in the room. And then of course he got into CAD and started designing the room and everything else. But we took tape and we put it on the wall to show like, okay, so this is what a 98-inch TV would look like on this wall. This is what an 83-inch TV would look like on this wall. This is what a 1.28 to 1 ratio movie would look like on an 83-inch TV on the wall. And we literally mapped it out with painter's tape. And then so that we knew which ones were which. And then he was like, okay, so now if you have a projector, this is how big a 1.28 to 1 ratio movie would look on the wall. And you're just like, damn, that looks huge. Like, I understand the temptation. I don't know. I mean, the technology, I'm sure, has come a long way. The last time I saw somebody, my next door neighbor back in Mississauga had a projector, and he invited me over at one point, and we watched Star Wars together. And it just seemed a little washed out. The blacks weren't very black. It just didn't seem quite right. And I was like, ugh, I just don't know if that would make me as happy as having like an OLED, where
Yeah,
like
really
the
good
blacks
TV.
are really crisp and it looks like, like backlit and really, really prime.
Well, even still, like I've got the Best Buy, like the Best Buy at Yonge and Dundas, I can go to and look at the 90-inch screens, right? Like that's again, where can you go to see those?
Well, we do have. I mean, I was in Fredericton the other day, and they have a Best Buy. We have a Costco, and they both have like jumbo screen TVs and stuff like that.
They have stoplights and stuff. Yeah? Okay.
Yes, indeed. There's to be
the
fair.
joke is, Jaime, when Carol's sister first moved down there to Woodstock, they didn't even have a street light.
There's
in the whole city.
In the town that I live in. In the town that I live in Florenceville, Bristol, there's one. There's one stoplight in the entire.
You have one stoplight?
One stoplight in the entire town. Yeah, we have the Brick in Fredericton. We have Best Buy and we have Costco. If you go down to St. John, there's like Leon's and stuff like that, but we don't have like a high end
like Stereo 2000.
No, we don't have a Stereo. Yeah. We don't have like True Tone or any of those like independent home theater expert kind of places. And it's a drag because, again, frankly, I need to save a little bit of money after Christmas anyways to build up, again, to be able to afford a new TV. But it's kind of a drag to be able to, want these things. And Xavier found one on Marketplace down here. Somebody is selling a 4K projector and screen. He's like, it's actually a really good deal. And I'm like, I just feel... I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for not having a TV, but having a projector.
No, you have that as well as a TV.
I mean, that's what I said. I said my perfect world would be the screen pulls down in front of the TV, and when you want to watch the whatever, you watch the whatever. And he's like, "Do you really want to spend like $8,000 to have all of those things?" I'm like, "Well, fair."
Yeah, you can spend $3,500 or $5,000 and get a Vision Pro. And screw the rest of them.
Yeah, it's not exactly the communal experience I'm looking for, but
you get I know couples who have like husbands and wives have them, and they sit and watch movies together.
Yeah, it'll be interesting too. So today's it's Friday morning here. Xavier's moving out on Sunday. He's moving into the dormitory in Fredericton.
Oh, is he? Okay, I was wondering about what's happening with that.
He really burned out on the commute back and forth, especially as the weather started to decline and it gets so dark here at night because there's no street lights or anything, so it gets really, really dark. And there are no shortage of wildlife out and stuff, so he gets very nervous. And then on top of that, he's like, I can't give up 3 hours a day of commuting in order to keep on top of my studies. That's just too much time. So he decided to sort of look into it, and he's decided that he's going to bite the bullet and he's going to go to res for second semester to see how he feels about it, and then he'll make a decision on what he's going to do after that. But all that to say, he's moving out on Sunday, and I'm like, so I'm going to have this huge, rec room starting to take form, and alas, my partner in crime won't be there to help me A, build it, and B, to enjoy it. So his thought was, if I'm at school more, when I do come home on the weekends or when I have time, I'll be able to enjoy home more. And I'm like, that's a good philosophy, like some people have a tough time divorcing their work from their home. And he knows about himself that he needs to do that. So good for him. It will be very quiet here without him, though. I'll say he fills a room.
He does, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That's right.
Well, now that you've watched Fallout, have any of you watched Fallout at all?
No, I'm behind on Fallout. Is it 3 episodes with a 4th about to come out?
I think the third one landed today.
Third is a week. Yeah. No, I meant, did you watch first season?
I watched first season, so I'm not that far behind.
Okay, because Jonathan hadn't watched it, which is why I was joking earlier about we'd do a rewatch of that, right? But now that he's seen it, we can add it to the stuff.
So yeah, the question is, we've got 6 episodes left of the animated series to land that plane. I don't know if we want to do
all at once.
Well, we could try and just do 6 next week, but I'm just worried it's going to get superseded by Academy for a while.
No, I mean we can skip next week too.
I'm fine either way.
It's up to you. I mean, you guys, whatever.
Yeah. Why don't we just go ahead and take the break for this week. So take off the 8th, and then just resume, and it'll basically start the new season for us, right? It'll be season 9.
Yeah, we'll do season 9. Yeah.
Yep.
Season 9, episode 1. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that works.
Okay. Well, if you're listening to the after show, where this is the end of season 8.
Thank you for joining us for season 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's good because that'll give us a little run from the 15th. We'll sort of try and do weekly as we go through Academy, and there's some other good, like we've got Wonder Man coming this month. We've got a few other things coming down the line too, right? Did you ever watch the Doctor Who spin-off thing, Tim?
No, it's not available yet.
So
it's only available in the UK right now.
Is the impression that the person we were speaking to about it has perhaps found it somewhere else?
Yes, that was the method that they used. I don't know how they did it because I've tried a couple times and not been successful. Anyway, the furnace has come on 3 times during the recording of this, so it must be really cold outside.
Yeah, we had a snowstorm here again today. It's never. Oh, Night of the Seven Kingdoms. That's coming. It's coming on the 18th. I was thinking there's something else coming in January.
What's Night of the Seven Kingdoms?
That's the new Game of Thrones series.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah, that looked interesting. I saw a trailer for that.
Yeah. And it's apparently they're taking it's really a different approach. I think it's only 6 episodes and they're only half an hour apiece.
Oh, wow.
So it's a very different sort of style of show too, right? But yes, that Wonder Man.
Anyway, I got to get going here because I got to take care of some personal things. So
okay,
alrighty.
All right. Well, let's reconnect on the 15th, and off we go.
Go from there. All right.
All right, guys.
See you guys
later.
Bye.
Bye.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Running connects us. The early mornings, the personal bests, the shared finish lines. At Marathon Sports, we're proud to be part of that journey with you. Our team helps you find shoes that fit your stride, apparel that feels good, and gear that keeps you moving. Stop by one of 28 New England locations or shop online at marathonsports.com. Marathon Sports, inspiring movement in everyone.